So JPMorgan just came out with its annual equity report, and in it featured Ripple, specifically XRP. And in that report, it had some very eye-opening comments about what's going to happen to XRP. This is the same JPMorgan whose CEO, Jamie Dimon, says Bitcoin is worthless. So I'm going to tell you about what JPMorgan just said about XRP. And announced a couple of weeks ago, Ripple has a $250 million creator fund in which they are essentially bootstrapping creators to create applications, NFT marketplaces, and use cases for the XRP ledger. I'm going to tell you what steps they actually need to take to make that happen. I'm also going to talk about some pricing information, some airdrop information regarding the Sologenic token that XRP and Solo holders are going to be getting, and a price prediction for Sologenic based on what Solana did at the beginning of the year. And also some upcoming news about the case of the SEC versus Ripple, because it's been extremely quiet lately. But I have a date for you that has some deadlines coming up, and in it I'm going to tell you exactly what the SEC is going to have to produce by those dates. Hey everyone, my name is Randy and welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now on this channel, I'm covering, of course, the Ripple versus the SEC case, but other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance as well. So if any or all of those topics interest you, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it if you join the Late Night Grind community. Also, don't forget to hit that bell notification icon so that YouTube will send you a notification when I release a new video. And if you're feeling really generous, I'd really appreciate it if you do two things. Number one, smash that thumbs up button. And number two, watch this video all the way to the end. Those really are the two best things that you can do to support a YouTube channel. So with that, let's jump into it. Well, the first thing I want to mention is the $250 million creator fund that Ripple has set aside that they are using to essentially bootstrap and assist developers of DeFi applications, NFT marketplaces, and some different applications that are going to be used on the XRP ledger. Monica Long, who is actually the GM of RippleX Development, was recently on another YouTube channel giving an interview, and she was speaking about a whole bunch of different topics regarding RippleNet and some of its use cases, specifically CBDCs, its future with NFTs and NFT marketplaces, the adoption of ODL, and specifically its growth. But one of the interesting points that I picked out is how the XRP ledger is actually going to be introducing an NFT space to the XRPL. Because actually what needs to happen is that there needs to be a consensus and a vote essentially taken by what was called NFT enthusiasts in order to create a referendum and then make that development live on a DevNet. So if that happens, it will be going live on the DevNet soon. DevNet being the development network which they have to use, which they use to work on different projects before they actually put it on the live blockchain. But there really is no reason for any XRP enthusiast to not want any of these NFT marketplaces or NFT projects on the XRP ledger. As far as I know, everybody on Twitter and YouTube is extremely excited about that prospect because it just brings yet another use case to the XRP ledger. And as many people, including the Bank of International Settlements in Japan, who has recently, as a few months ago, they were talking about how the XRP ledger is a perfect place for an NFT marketplace. Because of its speed and settlement and extremely cheap transaction fees, it's tailor-made to the NFT marketplace. Obviously, Ethereum, who is the big player in the NFT marketplace right now, is getting a lot of flack because of its ridiculous gas fees that a lot of people can't even afford. In fact, I saw somebody complaining about it yesterday on Twitter that they can't even afford to move Ethereum from an exchange into their wallet because the gas fees alone make it unaffordable. This is why a lot of people are pulling back on their enthusiasm toward Ethereum. Now, I think with their price point, they're still going to enjoy a nice bull run this year, but after that, and as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, the adoption of the ODL, the on-demand liquidity system, has been really skyrocketing with organization after organization and jumping on board and using RippleNet. And also, you can actually go to xrpscan.com and look at the number of daily transactions that are going through on the RippleNet platform. It is now over 2 million transactions per day, which is actually up about 300% in the past 4 months. Those numbers do not lie. Not only that, there is an extremely high number of new wallets being created for the XRPL on a daily basis. A couple of months ago, it was as low as 11,000 new daily wallets. It is now upwards of 140,000 new daily wallets being created every day. These are all extremely bullish signs. If you're an XRP holder, they're all very good news. But of course, it all begs the question, why isn't the price moving? Well, the answer is, well, your guess is as good as mine. But I do know that the price of XRP is bumping up against some specific support trend lines that are going to go in the right direction. Well, at least if this bull market is going to continue for the rest of the crypto market. But the other part of that is it's just simply price suppression from this case of the SEC versus Ripple. And specifically concerning that case, I do have a date, and that date is December 6th. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And on December 6th, that is actually a deadline where the SEC actually has to produce several different explanations to an order that Judge Netburn told them they had to back on October 21st. And most notably, they're going to have to answer that how are these sales contracts of XRP, how are they creating an expectation of profit? That answer is being waited on by Judge Netburn and by Ripple and by a ton of XRP holders. There's also a bunch of interrogatories that are going to be due, but that depends on whether or not the judge is actually going to allow Ripple to have their fair notice defense stand, or if the judge is actually going to strike it like the SEC wants. I don't foresee that happening, but we'll see. And next, some information on the Solo token, the airdrop that XRP holders and Sologenic and Solo token holders are going to be a part of, well, as long as you hold those tokens, on December 24th when they do their snapshot, and January 22nd when they're actually going to be doing the actual airdrop. On my last video, I made mention that you can actually go ahead and download the Sologenic app. I probably confused some people. It's actually called the Solo Dex. That's actually the app that you want to download and use. Of course, is a decentralized exchange. And in there, by default, Sologenic actually has trust lines set up. So if you move your Solo tokens to that wallet, if you move your XRP tokens to that wallet, by default, you'll be participating in that snapshot on Christmas Eve, December 24th. And of course, that snapshot will determine how many Solo tokens will be dropped to your account. Now, specifically concerning the pricing information on the Sologenic token, right now it's trading at about $2.64. Some of the speculation and prediction is that it's going to see about a $19 to $20 top-end price in this continued bull market for the rest of the year. But Sologenic is essentially in price discovery mode right now, which means everything's up for grabs. Now, a lot of people are comparing the Sologenic tokenomics to what Solana actually is. Now, I've mentioned Solana on my videos many times because it's an incredible story that you really should be following. And that is at the beginning of this year, January 1st, Solana was $1.51. It's now trading for well over $200. Back in the beginning of the year, some of the price speculations were coming out about what Solana could do. Some of the Fibonacci extensions predicted that it would reach about $58 at its peak Fibonacci extension, which was the 1.618 at $58. Well, it hit $58 and got rejected for several days at that Fibonacci level. And then what happened? It exploded through it and went on to crush new all-time highs for weeks on end. So could the same thing happen with the Solo token? Well, yeah, it could. A lot of people are comparing the tokenomics to that of Solana because they have a similar amount of tokens available. There's not a ridiculously amount available. There's only 400 million. In fact, 200 million of those are already secured specifically for the airdrop to Solo and XRP holders. So that is why a lot of people are now paying attention to this, and now 2.8 million people have added to their watch list on coinmarketcap.com. And if you are not one of them, you might want to put that on your watch list. And now to what JPMorgan just said about XRP and what could be happening to it shortly. So Ripple and XRP was actually featured in one of its monthly equity reports. Now, this was specifically a North American equity report, but in it they were talking about Ripple. Now, without going into a lot of detail, they were basically pointing out the obvious. If you've been studying XRP for some time, you already know its selling points, its use cases, how it is patent made for cross-border transactions, how it's made for nearly instant settlement, liquidity, cheap transactions, and very fast settlement times. So that's nothing new, but the fact that JPMorgan was actually writing about this, you knew they were trying to get at something. They also noted how it has many benefits over using stablecoins, and how as a stablecoin that is pegged to a specific currency, that XRP, and this is the interesting point, that said that XRP doesn't actually adopt the volatility that certain outside currencies can do with stablecoins. That's a really interesting point, because a lot of people talk about crypto being ultra volatile. Meanwhile, something pegged to an outside fiat currency is typically seen as not, except if you follow the economics of what's happening to the US dollar lately, you would know that there's not necessarily extreme volatility, but just extreme catastrophe and inflation. And as long as that money printer is working, it's only gonna get worse. And finally, in that report, it actually went on to talk about the Ripple versus the SEC case. And while it didn't really make much speculation of the case, it did say that in the case of a Ripple win, which if you've been following this channel, you know we're pretty bullish on a Ripple win. It said XRP and Ripple and the ODL is poised to experience significant adoption. Now, this is a major bank, one of the biggest in the world, talking about a cryptocurrency that could experience major adoption. And if you've been following this, you know that a lot of banks already use RippleNet. They already use the ODL system. There's over 100 financial institutions globally, including several countries, that actually use the ODL, the on-demand liquidity system, XRP. So when a bank like JPMorgan, who says that Bitcoin is essentially worthless, is talking about what XRP is going to be doing, essentially the bridge currency for all money, as XRP holders like to remind everybody, that's a very bullish thing. This is a very eye-opening article, just the fact that JPMorgan is saying it. So if you want to follow along with that story, along with many others in the crypto space, make sure you subscribe to the Late Night Grind. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, and make sure you hit these polls up on the community tab that I put out on a weekly basis, sometimes a daily basis, just so I can see what the Late Night Grind community members are thinking about these stories and the cryptocurrency markets in general. So once again, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.